Back in Connery's shitstorm, Bond escapes with Felix in this stupid manner before they check out Largo's yacht. After about 4 seconds underwater, Bond is taken into the yacht by Largo. Here a standard, "Ah, Mr. Bond, I've been expecting you" happens, followed by a standard scene where Largo and Bond talk in Largo's headquarters. And it's brief, and it ends with Largo just leaving Bond in his command center, surrounded by his tech guys and not a single guard. That seems patently stupid. Bond wanders about and eventually talks with Domino in her dancing room. Bond, he's smart enough to figure out that there's two-way glass or whatever, so he sets up this elaborate scheme in which he turns up Domino's absolutely migraine-worthy music to mask his conversation with her, tells her to kiss him to provoke Largo to come out of his little room, sets off the fire alarm to clear out Largo's command center, and being that he timed it perfectly, Largo can't hear the alarm because he's in the dance room now, and I guess Bond figured out that the dancing room, defying intelligent yacht design, does not have an audible fire alarm, even though it clearly has a fire axe. Then Bond pushes some buttons and somehow gains entrance to Largo's command room, and this is how not to try to make Bond look smart, making everything way too fucking convenient. So Largo breaks the record player, and he hears the fire alarm, and kind of gives a knowing, "Damn it, it's Bond" look, which is standard sort of thing to follow up the "I just let Bond wander around my place" bit. Octopussy did this, with Bond escaping and figuring shit out at Kamal Khan's, but he escaped using his pen in a relatively logical and not stupid way, though honestly they probably should have confiscated his pen. He sneaks around and eventually ends up in that jungle hunt, which puts some emphasis on Bond being in peril. Right after all of this with Never Say Never Again, where he outwits Largo, Largo's just happily showing Bond Palmyra, his North African guarded palace. So Largo goes a little crazy in this moment where he has Domino hold this priceless statue while they talk about her dead brother, and he forces a creepy kiss, so I kind of like the idea of having Largo seem so nice for most of the movie and have him be a bit crazy-ass now, but I had to watch him be boring and polite with only a little hint that he may have a slight temper, which is lame. And through the rest of the movie, he's calm, so he's still like the most boring villain ever put in a film. Now he ties Domino to this pole, and he goes to see Bond, who's shackled up here, and he gloats about winning. Then Bond asks a very cliched, "So where are the bombs anyway? I'm captured. What am I gonna do?" And I'm like, oh yeah, there's some sort of urgency to this, isn't there? What the hell day is it? We only have a week? What time is it? Aren't we supposed to be, worried about these bombs? So Largo, like the dipshit Bond villain he is, says, "One of them is right under the president's feet." But he doesn't tell him where the second one is, because, see, he's smart. See, it showed he's smart. No, he's not fucking smart. So Bond does the only great Bond thing he does in this whole fucking movie, which is use his laser watch. Largo lets these guys in who were just outside his gate, and they're gonna buy Domino, as I guess, and that's pretty mean, I guess. So finally something villain worthy from Largo. It's also a decent setup because you don't know why he had her tied to this pole, and then these guys come in to buy her. That's kind of okay. Bond escapes, steals a horse, and despite the jazzy soundtrack, apparently this little romp around Palmyra counts as an action sequence, and Bond is followed around by the guys wanting to buy Domino before the scene climaxes with Bond jumping with a horse into the water, which I guess is supposed to be astounding or something. How crazy, it's a horse, that's so high. But it's not a real stunt, and the best part of the whole scene is simply watching that poor fucking horse get tossed into the water backwards for the last little bit of the fall. Felix Leiter shows up with a submarine and blasts the shit out of the place. On the sub, there's this very exciting, over the intercom, "We located the bomb in Washington." Yay. Oh, well, that was fun. M comes on the intercom, and he tells me they only have 5 hours to find the other bomb, so, tension. Bond uses Domino's pretty Tirza-ala necklace to locate where the bomb is, and that's cool. Some Thunderball-type sub-thingies appear, and we get there's gonna be some sort of action scene, right? It's coming now, right? Because the subs are there. Thunderball had, the coolest action scene ever filmed, like Star Wars underwater. Cool. Aboard the submarine, Bond's like, "Are you equipped with the new XT-7Bs?" Which I swear Connery just makes up as he says it. So they're like, "Ooh, what could that be?" Oh, it's like hover thingies that are shot out of missiles. That should be exciting. It's just sort of blandly put out there as Bond and Leiter grimace through using them with no music at all. It's a cool idea, but it's totally boring because it's how are we gonna get to Largo? We could just use these. Okay. Roger Moore would have smiled and he would have waved at least to the locals, let everyone know he's enjoying this. Hell, Thunderball had a real rocket pack in the first 5 minutes of the film, which was way cooler. Alright, that's it. Here we go. To the finales of the films. So, Octopussy, after its over-the-top, crazy-ass chase, the movie ramps up the absurd tone even more by following Kamal Khan back to India, where Bond, Octopussy, and her gang of hot chicks and circus performers attack. The attack that follows here is silly fun. Q flies around in a balloon with Bond, and the only real complaint is that it seems to be nighttime at the start, and then suddenly it's like dawn or dusk. Because they're like obviously on a sound stage, and then Kamal and Govinda escape with the captured Octopussy, and it suddenly seems like it's midday. It's distracting, but the sequence of events from the crazy attack to Bond jumping from a horse to the back of a plane makes up for it. This grand finale, which includes a fight between Govinda and Bond atop Kamal's plane before it crashes, is an inspired series of stunts and a great everything in the kitchen sink moment for the film. It's like they did everything else, so fuck it, horses, planes, classic Bond stunt. We get another brief little moment with Gogol before the film's way too goofy finale where Bond seems infirm but just breaks out of all of this shit for sexual relations. Keeping with the film's constant need to push every comical bit just a little too far, that's what we end on. Back over Never Say Never Again, Bond and Leiter follow Largo into the Tears of Allah, an amazing historical site that would be like a total treasure to Muslims everywhere if they knew it existed. Of course, they just blow it up. The bombs get armed, and this boring little fight that Bond doesn't do shit in starts. The bomb is sent to its underwater destination that will like fuck up oil supplies or something. And being Spectre's not getting their ransom money, I guess this is better than nothing. Bond heads out to an oasis to follow the bomb, which there was like urgency before with the XJ Red 27s or whatever, but now he's just has a helicopter that just showed up and tows him around, and he follows the bomb, and an underwater knife fight follows. Something so small I can't believe they felt it would make an alright finale. At least that jazzy music isn't playing and some sort of actual soundtrack is. Sadly, this is actually the most exciting scene in the whole movie, with the bomb going in circles because Bond rams his knife in it, and it pins Largo down as they're fighting, and Largo pulls a harpoon gun, and you're like, oh no, he's gonna shoot Bond, and then bam, he's shot by Domino? What? What the living fuck? Why would the U.S. Navy suit up and allow a civilian to exact revenge? Why would they allow her to possibly compromise their world-saving goddamn mission? How fucking horrid an ending so she can get her revenge. I mean, Bond films are fairly nonsensical in their logic of how governments or militaries operate, but this annoyed the living hell out of me when I first saw it. And it's not even compelling. Like, that would make up for it. It's not. Still, even at this point, with 5 hours to go, instead of, when Roger Moore disarmed that bomb at the very last possible moment, which was cool, no tension there is in this movie. It's just nothing. Connery sails off with another horrid appearance by Mr. Bean, and a wink to the camera as the film's insufferable theme plays again. Never fucking again, gonna watch this bullshit. Woo! Okay, on to my totally fucking bias. Final thoughts here. I like Octopussy. I like it more than For Your Eyes Only, because the level of absurdity seems appropriate for the film. For Your Eyes Only was a serious film with distractingly silly moments, but Octopussy is a silly film that occasionally goes a little too eye-rollingly far, which actually works better. Octopussy works for me because it's ambitious as hell, combining in a complex, for a Bond film plot, with a balls-to-the-wall level of diverse action. I mean, Octopussy is crammed to the brim with planes, trains, automobiles, Cold War shenanigans, exiled princes, crazed generals, circus elephants, knife-wielding identical twins, and a cult of beautiful women ready to attack. How the hell is this film so hated? Well, it's the moments that push it too far, that stick out, that you can insert into complaints. Wow, what was up with Bond dressed as a clown, dressed like a gorilla, making Tarzan noises? Said sit to a tiger. I haven't a clue who thought these moments were good ideas, but they weren't, and they certainly mar the film. That said, they're brief bits, and they don't ruin it. The worst moment is VJ's death, just because it's unnecessary and too serious. It would have been nice to see him at the end of the film, and his death is only for the most obvious of plot connections. I think Octopussy is easily one of the best, if not the best Bond film of the 80s, which, really isn't impressive, but still. It's also the best at balancing so many elements, giving us enough time with Kamal Khan and Govinda, with Octopussy or Orlov or the damn twins. These characters might not be the most standout fucking ones in the Bond canon, but combined they are the most effective ensemble. I also think it builds better toward all these crazy things combining together than almost any Bond film of any decade. I think the production knew they'd be going up against Sean Connery, so there was this madcap dash to make this one hell of an adventure, which they succeed at doing, even if bits and pieces are very frustrating. Never Say Never Again, on the other hand, is a boring, intolerable action film, let alone Bond adventure. It adds nothing, with not a single stunt or element standing out. Connery is certainly game, and he's better here than in You Only Live Twice and Diamonds Are Forever, but he's given only a sad, slow, little retread of Thunderball that isn't 1/10 as mammoth as the original. It's like if Kevin McClory owned the rights to Moonraker instead of a crazy globe-trotting adventure that ended in space. The movie just sort of went to Branson, Missouri, and in the last half hour there was a brief scuffle aboard the Mir space station. Every scene sucked ass, with only Fatima Blush's crazy intensity and Bond's cool watch elevating any of it. Largo was boring. Blofeld was wasted. And the whole movie should have just been burned after it was completed. There are numerous things I bitched about, and I found more offensive than Roger Moore dressing as a gorilla or clown. In the end, barring that Casino Royale parody from the 60s, this is easily the worst attempt at a Bond film that was ever fucking made. So, there you have it. The Battle of the Bonds. Comparison. How I thought. Alright. There you go. I'm done now. This is a long rant. This recording actually ran like 50, almost an hour of shit I recorded for this.